Okay, this is the Yale gold panning area. So a lot of people come here, like Matt. There's Matt. But you dig out in behind some of these big boulders, and you can grab the dirt from under them and go ahead and pan. But what I'm going to show you today are just the different tumbler stones. So we've got different quartzes, like the peachy kind of stuff. For example, this one here. I'll put it down here so I can focus. There's definitely no gemstones or anything, but if you just want to find some tumbler material, this is a nice spot. You can get simple river rocks with different patterns that'll come out well. There's no surprises in this rock either. Whatever it looks like here, it's going to look like the rest of the way through if you crack them open, because they've already been worn down. So there's no surprises inside any of them. And you can walk along the river here, or you can get a rag, tie it to the end of a stick, get it wet, and wander around and wet all the rocks here. Just come on a rainy day. You're also going to find a lot of serpentine here. Let me show you what that looks like. The parking too, by the way, like as you can see, you can even drive right down onto the beach. But you can also park very close, just through the trees there, that little light spot, that's where you park, and you just walk down a path. So super easy access. It's right in the town here of Yale. Very, very small town, one street light town. It's an old gold rush site. That's why we've got the historical gold panning area here. But as far as serpentine goes, I'll show you some that we plopped in the buckets here. So you'll find some. Let me get the sweat. That was a bad tasting rock. Anyway, probably should just use the water out there. And of course it doesn't want to show up. That's fantastic. Licked it for nothing. Alright, let me bring it to the river here and I'll show you just kind of samples of the varieties of serpentine. So you want to go for the light serpentine. There's definitely dark serpentine, and you'll notice it because it'll look almost black, but it'll have green highlights in the cracks. This is also serpentine, otherwise known as Danherd jade, and it's going to have green hues. There's green jaspers out here as well. For example, this one that I'm staring at right here. Let me dig it out. That's a green jasper. You'll start to know the difference at some point. It has to do with, for example, the white quartzy line in there, and the texture on it is more frictive when I feel it. The serpentine's a softer stone. It usually feels smoother on the surface. I don't know how else to describe it, but you're gonna find other green rocks. I'll try and come up with more ways to describe this to you. This is a green no, that's not a serpentine. That's a green jasper, but a nice light green jasper that also doesn't want to focus. There we go. So there's a lot of green rocks out on the river. Let me see if I can find a serpentine. This is another jasper. And again, so this will help you identify it. The muddling of colors in there and the spottiness, those brown spots, tell me it's a jasper. Also the differentiations, the blotchiness, tell me it's a jasper. Also a jasper. Might have to come back to you with this one. And I picked a bunch up, but I threw them away before I made the video. So give me a moment, I'll go collect a few, and I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. This is a serpentine. So here's my way of describing how I know it's serpentine. Is it has translucent areas, not all the way through the rock, just subtle highlights, especially when it's dry. So let me dry it off here. You're gonna see in the cracks, now I don't know if it's coming through on camera, but all these cracks are actually highlighted bright green. And so you can see the spot where the light is separating between the material above and below the crack, and it creates this sort of translucent highlighted zone, only for a half a millimeter, maybe even less, but that translucency does not occur in jaspers. So that's what's telling me it's a serpentine. There's also undercutting, pitting in the soft areas here. Serpentine is a soft stone, so that's going to happen on the surface, whereas the jaspers are usually more homogeneous. The quartzes run through the whole thing, and so it's not going to have that undercuttingness. The surface of the serpentine is a lot smoother. Like I said, jasper has more of a friction on the surface. Serpentine, because it's so soft, it tends to round out better. It's not as resistant. It's still going to have blotchiness, but remember, serpentine is incredibly abundant to the extent that there's quarries of it everywhere. They used it as road fill for the entire Coquihalla Highway. Like, it's not an uncommon stone, and if you're wanting to find jade on the river, essentially tough luck. It just doesn't really exist, but there is an abundance of serpentine. So let me find a few more serpentine boulders and teach you more. Okay, this here is also a serpentine. You can tell by the pitted areas all over the surface. It's missing the fractures, but there's highlighted green areas, like here under my thumbnail up top, that have that translucency and the jelliness. And that one is Epidote, Matt, not serpentine. That bright green, we have a lot of Epidote in BC. That's what that is. Same with this other sample I actually picked up for you here. This one too, let me give it a quick wash. These bright green specks, the lighter color, those are just Epidote pieces inside of this rock running through it. So you're gonna have Epidote as well as the green jasper. It's actually gonna get quite complicated for you. So these are my favorite wish stones. These are actually purple chert we find in BC, but because they round out like balls and they're banded, they have all these layers on them, and I've just always liked them. Once they're tumbled, they're one of my favorites, especially if you can get them without any blemishes and nice and round. It's just like it's just one that appeals to me out here. But that's a chert, and I always look for those wish stone varieties. Okay, so here's a good version of Epidote for you. There you can kind of see the edge, the bright greens in it. But then when it breaks, it has this quartzy break to it where it'll be grainy and barely sparkly, but it comes in lighter colors. So you can sometimes wonder what that is. No, you don't have to. You'll get to know it because the same color will exist. It almost looks like veins running through the rock. And again, when it breaks, it's going to have that quartzy break, and it's really not worth much. Okay, these flat ones, these are really precious because you get to throw them at the river and see how many times they skip. There we go. Okay, I'm staring at this one in the ground. Now, I can tell it's serpentine because of the subtle greens. It goes into a darker, more jelly area. The serpentine is dark, but it's more translucent there. So it kind of neutralizes itself, if that makes sense. But it's nice and smooth. I see the same blotchy pitting on the surface.